Do as I say, not as I do. Chancellor Rachel Reeves caught breaking her own landlord laws while pocketing £3,200 monthly rent. In a jaw-dropping display of political hypocrisy that would make even the most cynical observer blush, Britain's Chancellor, Rachel Reeves, has been exposed as an illegal landlord, breaking the very housing regulations she personally campaigned to expand and strengthen. The woman responsible for the nation's finances couldn't even manage to follow the basic rules governing her own rental property. This isn't just another Westminster scandal. It's a masterclass in one rule for them, another for everyone else. The crime: Chancellor turned rogue landlord. When Reeves moved into number 11 Downing Street after Labour won the 2024 election, she admitted that she did not obtain the required selective rental license for her South London home. The four-bedroom property in Dulwich's leafy Dulwich Wood district was listed for a staggering £3,200 per month, nearly double what most of her constituents earn in total. She has received rental income since September 2024, meaning the Chancellor has made £44,800 from the property, all while technically operating as an illegal landlord. Let's be crystal clear about what happened here. Rachel Reeves committed a strict liability criminal offense under Section 95 of the Housing Act 2004. Southwark Council's website explicitly states that landlords can be prosecuted or face unlimited fines, with civil penalties reaching up to £30,000 per offense. For ordinary landlords, this isn't a minor paperwork issue. It's a criminal matter that can result in devastating financial penalties, rent repayment orders forcing them to return up to 12 months of rent, and even losing control of their properties. But here's where it gets truly scandalous. A designation for Dulwich Wood, where Reeves' property is located, was introduced in November 2023, a year after a first phase of areas were selected. The selective licensing scheme had been in place for over a year before she started renting. A public notice issued by Southwark Council stipulated that all landlords, managing agents, or tenants within the designated area should obtain advice to ascertain whether their property is affected. This wasn't some obscure loophole or recent change. The rules were clear, public, and readily available. The hypocrisy, preaching what she doesn't practice. Now, buckle up, because this is where the story transforms from merely embarrassing to absolutely devastating. Rachel Reeves didn't just break these rules by accident, she actively campaigned for them to be expanded. In 2023, as Shadow Chancellor, Reeves joined Leeds City Council on a walkabout in the Armley area, calling for selective licensing. She told a meeting, "We know that disreputable landlords and unsuitable private housing is an issue in Armley. A selective licensing policy will help us address these problems head-on." She repeated this campaigning in spring 2024. When Leeds Council agreed to extend the selective licensing regime, Reeves tweeted her delight, demonstrating clear knowledge of how the system worked when applied to other landlords. Think about the audacity here. While publicly condemning disreputable landlords and demanding stricter enforcement, she was simultaneously preparing to become an unlicensed landlord herself. Conservative Party Chairman Kevin Hollinrake perfectly captured the absurdity. Rachel Reeves campaigned to expand landlord licensing in Leeds, March 2024, but 18 months later still hadn't bothered to get one for her own home in Dulwich. Shocking hypocrisy. One rule for them. The internet exploded with outrage. One social media user perfectly summarized the sentiment. Rachel Reeves may claim she wasn't aware of the licensing requirements, but knowing the rules is literally the rule of government. If you set them, you should obey them. The cover-up, changing stories and blame games. When the Daily Mail broke the story on October 29, 2025, Reeves' initial response was to claim ignorance. Her spokesperson said she had not been made aware of the licensing requirement. She described it as an inadvertent mistake and wrote to Prime Minister Keir Starmer apologizing for the error. But then the plot thickened dramatically. Emails released by the government showed exchanges between Harvey Wheeler, the estate agent handling the rental, and the chancellor's husband, in which the company offered to apply for a selective rental license on behalf of Reeves' family once the new tenant moves in, but never did. Wait, so she was told about the licensing requirement? The Conservative Party pounced immediately. Last night, Rachel Reeves said she had not been made aware of the licensing requirement. Today, we find out that Reeves was alerted to the need for a license in writing by the estate agents. Reeves then pivoted, saying the agency failed to submit the application, in part due to a member of staff leaving, but added she accepted full responsibility for the oversight. So first it was "I didn't know," then it became "my agent told me but didn't follow through, but it's still my fault." The story changed within 24 hours. The letting agency owner, Gareth Martin, admitted his company had offered to help but failed to do so after an employee resigned. But here's the crucial legal point that Reeves can't escape. Section 95 of the Housing Act 2004 means Reeves was ultimately still responsible for obtaining the license. In housing law, ignorance is never a defense, and delegating responsibility to an agent doesn't absolve the property owner. Starmer's spineless response: "Nothing to see here." Despite the clear criminality involved, Prime Minister Keir Starmer rushed to protect his chancellor. After consulting his independent ethics advisor, Sir Laurie Magnus, Starmer described her prompt action to rectify the position, including her apology, as sufficient. He wrote, "In light of your prompt action to rectify the position, including your apology, further investigation is not necessary." Let that sink in. The Labour government that promised to restore service and respect to politics now declares that breaking criminal housing laws is perfectly acceptable as long as you say sorry afterward. Keir Starmer himself once tweeted that lawmakers can't be law breakers when attacking Conservative ministers. That principle apparently evaporates when it's inconvenient. Opposition leader Kemi Badenoch didn't mince words. She told the Daily Mail, if the Chancellor, who has spent months floating punishing tax hikes on family homes, has at the same time seemingly been profiting from illegally renting out her house, that would make her position extremely tenuous. She called for a full investigation and suggested Reeves should resign if found to have broken the law, which she demonstrably had. The Liberal Democrats' deputy leader, Daisy Cooper, added, "The Chancellor is meant to be delivering growth, but the only thing she appears to be growing is the government's list of scandals." The pattern: Labour housing hypocrites. Here's what makes this scandal even more damning. Rachel Reeves isn't the first Labour minister to have housing issues. She's part of an emerging pattern of Labour politicians who can't manage their own property affairs while lecturing everyone else. Housing Minister Rushana Ali resigned after she raised the rent on a property she owned, having evicted the previous tenants. Angela Rayner, the former Deputy Prime Minister and Housing Secretary, resigned following a row about her tax affairs, specifically relating to stamp duty underpayment on a property purchase. Education Secretary Bridget Phillipson lets out a room to another MP for £30,000 a year. Social media users captured the absurdity perfectly. What is it with Starmer's cabinet and their infringements with their homes? Phillipson lets out a room to another MP for £30,000 a year. Reeves doesn't get the necessary license to rent hers out, and of course Ange lost her job for a tax fiddle. Any more to add to the list? Another wrote, first Angela Rayner, Housing Secretary, and now the Chancellor, Rachel Reeves. They are as corrupt as they are incompetent. If they cannot manage their own financial affairs, how can they manage the country's? The London Renters Union didn't hold back, calling for Reeves to resign. Roz Spencer from Safer Renting stated, "The Chancellor's failure to obtain a landlord license highlights exactly why stronger, consistent enforcement across the country is necessary. The new regulations in the Renters' Rights Act will only make tenants safer in our homes if landlords who break the law are meaningfully held to account. Politicians cannot be let off easy." The timing couldn't be worse. The scandal erupted with spectacularly terrible timing for Labour. The Renters' Rights Act came into force earlier this week, and it's 4 weeks until Reeves will preside over an autumn budget where she is expected to announce tax hikes.
The government is literally preparing legislation to crack down on landlords, while the chancellor herself is an illegal one. Less than 2 weeks before the revelations, Reeves praised Leeds City Council's expansion of its selective licensing policy, stating, "While many private landlords operate in the right way, we know that lots of private tenants in Armley face problems with poorly maintained housing. The irony is thick, you could cut it with a knife." The scandal also comes as Reeves's authority faces challenges just weeks away from the budget, with speculation mounting about potential tax increases. Her constituents earn an average of £33,904 per year, meaning her monthly rental income of £3,200 represents nearly the entire annual earnings of many she represents. The double standard, one law for them. Here's what truly enrages ordinary landlords about this situation. They face devastating consequences for exactly the same offense Reeves committed. Property law experts have been unanimous in their condemnation